In this video, I'll be showing you how to cast on stitches using the cable cast on method. Now, before we get started, it's important to note that this cast on method does not result in a very stretchy cast on edge. So if you're casting on a sweater or top down socks, you may want to go for another cast on method that results in a stretchier cast on edge. However, if you're knitting something that does not require a very stretchy cast on edge, like a scarf or a pot holder, you can use this method. What's unique about this method is that you can use it to cast on new stitches in the middle of your project. Say you're knitting a top-down sweater and you need to cast on extra stitches for the underarm of your sweater, or you're knitting a bag and you need to cast on extra stitches for the handle of your bag. This is the perfect cast on method for that. So that's what it's typically used for. But yeah, you can also use it to cast on like at the start of your project, as long as you make sure that the cast on edge does not need to be super stretchy. Okay, so let's get started. We're starting this cast on with a slip knot. Now, you do not need to leave a very long tail at the beginning, like you would for the long tail cast on method. Just a regular length, just to make sure you can weave that end in later, but nothing longer than that, since we won't be casting on using this tail. Now, you're going to place the slip knot on your left needle and tighten it like a normal knit stitch. So this is the first stitch. Now for the second stitch that we're casting on, we're going to pretend to knit this stitch like you would normally knit it. So we're inserting our right needle, we're wrapping the yarn around the needle, we're pulling it through, and then instead of slipping the first stitch off the needle like you normally would if you would be knitting this stitch, we're going to place the second stitch, or the yarn we just pulled through the first stitch, we're also going to place that on the left needle. So you can slightly pull up a loop, and then you're inserting your left needle like this in the stitch and place the new stitch on the left needle. So now you have two stitches. Now for the third stitch, this is a bit different from the way you cast on the second stitch. You're not going to insert your right needle as if you were about to knit this new stitch, but you're inserting your right needle in between the two stitches. So like this. So it's not in any of the two stitches, but it's just in between them, as you can see, both on the front and on the back. Then we're wrapping the yarn around the right needle like we would as if we were knitting the stitch, and we're bringing that yarn through the front as if we're knitting a stitch. Now you have this loop on your right needle, and like before, we're not gonna slip any stitches off the left needle like we normally would if we were knitting a stitch, but we're just gonna place this loop or this stitch also on the left needle. So this is another new stitch. And do note that you're not placing it on the left needle like this. So inserting the left needle from left to right, but you're inserting the left needle from right to left into the stitch on the right needle, like this. So we now have 3 stitches. Let's do that again. And from now on, all stitches are done in the way that the previous stitch was done. So again, we're inserting our right needle in between the last 2 stitches, as if we were knitting it, but we're not actually inserting it as if we were knitting it because we're in between the last 2 stitches like before. Then we're wrapping the yarn around the right needle as if we were knitting it, bringing that to the front. And we're placing this loop or this stitch also on the left needle. We're inserting the left needle from right to left into this stitch, and we're placing it on the left needle. So again, we're inserting our right needle in between the last two stitches we cast on. We're wrapping the yarn around the needle, bringing that to the front as we normally would when we're knitting a stitch. Bring it up, and then place this loop also on the left needle, by inserting the left needle from right to left, like that. So as you can see, these are the stitches that we have now cast on, and you just keep going like this until you have the total number of stitches that you have to cast on.